To take you kind of dates back to 1927 in the form you're about to see it. But this building was here in some way, shape, or form since 1873. I'm telling you this because that means it's a very historic building, which means it has very historic flooring, which means it's sometimes uneven, it creaks and shifts, and sometimes even moves. Wherever I'm taking you today is all perfectly safe to walk on. I just don't want you to be surprised by it when historic flooring acts like historic flooring. We all go on that, folks? I'm going to lead us to a nice central area, and then I'll explain the shop. But as I lead us there, I'm not going to say anything, because the instant you look up, you're not going to hear me anyway. Alrighty? Follow me this way, folks. Right that way to that center area, please. Then to your left, sir. There you go. Perfect.
Look at the pulley systems.
Keep filtering in, folks. We got room for everybody. Alrighty, folks. Welcome to the machine shop of the East Broadtop Railroad. The heart of the complex is actually in the brick structure right behind me. That was the home of two Babcock's and Wilcox water tube boilers that supplied steam for three purposes. The first and primary purpose is actually right in front of that brick structure in the form of a single-cylinder steam engine that, with its 7-foot tall flywheel and with a 100-foot long leather belt, was hooked up to all the line shafts and pulleys you see above you, as well as over in the blacksmith shop, over in the foundry, and even over in the car shop. In fact, that single-cylinder engine was big enough to power pretty much everything at once if it needed to, but we don't really have a record of it needing to. The second purpose for the steam kind of comes as a surprise to some people, because it's through the double doors with the glass tops back there. Through this double doors with the glass tops is in fact a steam-driven electric generator. That's right, even back in 1873, they had electricity. That's why you saw the insulators as we walked in, because it supplied power to the shop complex here, which is why we have the lights the way we do. No, folks, I cannot turn on more lights. This is the historical amount of lighting, aka not much. But the electricity extended to the station, so they could have lighting over there, and to the entire company town of Rockville Furnace. That's right, Rockville Furnace became a company town. If you lived in a company house, you had electricity from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. If you were a late reader, you had to do it by candlelight. But who here remembers the national anthem playing at the end of the night, and then the TV not working, and then the next morning the national anthem would play and the TV would start working? Well, that was kind of a holdover from this time period. And again, kind of a neat perk of living in a company home. This third and final purpose of the steam is actually along the walls. If you look along the walls, they have what looks like piping being stacked. It's actually not stacked piping. It is steam heat radiator piping. And it worked really well if you were standing along the wall. In the middle of the building, as you can feel, it's kind of like caved, and therefore it stayed pretty cold. Where I'm at right now is the wheel shop. Anything to do with wheels and brakes happened here. Behind all of you is the machine shop. That's where the 15 and 25 tons of parts in the storehouses came from. And then if we look this way, to my left, your right, you'll see something that looks suspiciously like a steam locomotive.
Yes.
Well, I told you you'd see 14 later. There's 14. Actually providing a very good example of what that locomotive shop used to be used for. Because she was torn down by the foundation in the early 2020s as a part of her evaluation to restore her to operation. However, they found that she would need a little bit more work in the firebox. As a result, they shifted gears to restoring number 15. Number 14 is still on the docket. It's just now third in line. Next to 14 on the right-hand side is the boiler shop. That's where they could roll inch-thick boiler sheet and actually punch holes in it in order for it to pass the rivets through and make boilers. In fact, the boiler shop's very first job was to make the smokestacks for the boilers back there. I don't want to be the guy inside those smokestacks holding the rivet, but I guarantee you the first word he said when he came out was what? Now back there you'll see some windows. The windows are to the car shop. The car shop is one of those areas I'm not going to be able to show you today. Remember how stalls 4 through 8 were the domain of our mechanical department and an active work site? Well, there's another active work site now because we're restoring some of the old historic passenger cars, and, well, it's the car shop. As a result, I can't let you over there. I do apologize. Back in the day, about 60 to 70 people worked in here, and that usually leads people to a very logical question, especially when they look up and go, well, wait a minute, OSHA definitely didn't approve of any of this. And that question is, was it unsafe? And the answer is, not really. Sure, you had the usual machine shop injuries, kind of getting cuts where you didn't want to get cuts, or in our case, because we're line shaft driven, pinching your fingers by a belt and a pulley. But there was no recorded death in this shop, which is a pretty nice thing to say. And part of the reason for that is because back in those days, you had a personal responsibility to work safely, especially if you lived in a company house and you didn't have a son who could take over for you. Because if you were out of work hurt, there was no unemployment, there was no workman's comp, there was no insurance. You were potentially out of a job, and if you're in a company house, potentially out of a home if you're out of work injured. But as cutthroat as that sounds, this was actually a very lucrative place to work, and they tried to take care of their workers here. They never had a night shift here. They only had first and second shift. And each shift got an hour paid lunch, which was unheard of back then, and frankly, I wish I got an hour paid lunch. That'd be kind of nice. So it was a very nice place to work, and if you got company housing, it's kind of a nice perk too. On that note, folks, I want to give you plenty of time to take pictures. The main note in here, there's 2 of them. Number 1, don't go beyond any roped off area. Why? It's walking pits or active work sites. I don't want you ending up in them. And number 2, don't leave until I gather us to leave. Otherwise, time is yours to look around and take pictures.
Use the compressed air for?
Well, right now they use a compressed air to run the steam engine, but instead, yeah, that's what it's used for now. But at the time, there were other uses. Test the air braking equipment, stuff like that.
Is that the Polar car?
They had other shop equipment that ran off of air too.
20's the Polar car, right? Over there?
Yeah.
pressure. Yeah.
This is also where I warn that anyone left behind will be put to work.
I would love that actually.
Oh, yeah.
Feel free to take a look at either or both.
Blacksmith shop. Look at the anvil.
The contract here. The first three shorter, and the second and the fourth are both standard gauge. The narrow gauge is the second and the third.